the people across Arizona who are concerned about the future of abortion rights in our state, who are worried about their bodily autonomy, who don't want to see the freedom of their wives, sisters, and daughters restricted, you can make your concerns known at the ballot box, and I encourage you to do so.
That is Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs reacting to the Arizona State Supreme Court ruling today that Arizona can enforce a 1864 law that criminalizes all abortions except those to save the mother's life.
We are covering all of the angles on Fox 10 News at 5. We will break down the exceptions to the abortion rule and the penalties that doctors could face. Also, we hear what Arizonans are saying about today's developments, plus when this ruling will take effect.
Just moments after the decision was released, Arizona Governor Hobbs spoke with pro-choice leaders in the state in the executive tower.
And some said that they were stunned that the state Supreme Court made this decision. Steve Nielsen was there at the Capitol today when the governor spoke. He's live outside the tower now. Steve.
Yeah, it's fair to say many of them up there today did not expect this decision. The governor saying that her news conference today is her call for legislators to act. At the podium alongside the governor, State Senator Eva Birch said she just received an abortion because her embryo wasn't viable.
Somebody gave me a procedure so that I wouldn't have to experience another miscarriage, the pain, the mess, the discomfort. And now we're talking about whether or not we should put that doctor in jail. This is outrageous.
The state Supreme Court has ruled 4-2 to enforce a century-and-a-half-old abortion law.
It is a dark day in Arizona.
In December, the court heard arguments trying to decipher what law is enforceable now that Roe v. Wade is overturned. On the books, there was a 2022 law banning abortion at 15 weeks and an 1864 law banning all abortions except to preserve the mother's life, ultimately saying the 1800s law takes precedence. The governor saying the legislature needs to fix this.
These bans, whether it's 1864 or 2022, do not take complications of pregnancy into account at all, and it is not enough.
The Arizona Supreme Court today upheld the rule of law.
Kathy Herod with the Center for Arizona Policy defended the court's decision.
I am thrilled with today's ruling. It's the correct legal ruling, and it's the correct moral ruling.
There are many political and legal and enforcement questions. Hobbs signed an executive order last year preventing county attorneys from prosecuting abortion cases.
I would not have issued the executive order if I didn't think it was legally sound. We want to make sure that women have access to the health care that they need and that overzealous prosecutors aren't using this law to criminalize them.
Herod says lawsuits are likely.
And the Attorney General and the county attorneys are legally obligated to enforce laws passed by the Arizona legislature and signed by the governor. To not do so is a dereliction of their duty.
The governor was asked if she would call a special session to address this. She said she doesn't need to. The legislator is in session and can act now. Reporting live, Steve Nielsen, Fox 10 News.
Steve, thanks. Former Republican Governor Doug Ducey also spoke out today against the ruling. He says, I signed the 15-week law as governor because it is thoughtful, conservative policy and an approach to this very sensitive issue that Arizonans can actually agree on. The ruling today is not the outcome I would have preferred, and I call on our elected leaders to heed the will of the people and address this issue with a policy that is workable and reflective of our electorate.
President Joe Biden also speaking about this today. He says millions of Arizonans will soon live under an even more extreme and dangerous abortion ban, which fails to protect women, even when their health is at risk or in tragic cases of rape or incest. This cruel ban was first enacted in 1864, more than 150 years ago, before Arizona was even a state and well before women had secured the right to vote. The president adds this ruling as a result of the extreme agenda of Republican elected officials who are committed to ripping away women's freedoms.
Well, the truth is, Arizonans will probably get to vote on this issue in November in a much more direct way. Arizona for Abortion Access says it has collected more than 500,000 signatures to put a proposal, a constitutional amendment, on the ballot to protect abortion rights. Today, a clinician spoke on the need to protect the ability to discuss all medical matters with their patients.
Think about how ridiculous it would be if politicians regulated what clinicians like me are allowed to discuss with our patients about antibiotic care. Medical cases are rarely simple, obvious, or black and white. They're usually complicated and nuanced, including abortion cases.
Opponents of the initiative that may be on the November ballot say the proposed amendment likely goes too far compared to what most Arizonans want.
And today's decision has received reaction from many different officials across the state, including Attorney General Chris Mays. Here's what she had to say about the ruling.
It is one of the worst decisions in the history of the Arizona Supreme Court, if not the worst. This is far from the end of the debate on reproductive freedom, and I look forward to the people of Arizona having their say in the matter.
Attorney General Mays spoke out at a news conference this morning. She says that her office will continue to pursue every option available to ensure Arizonans are protected from that ruling. Republican State Senator T.J. Shope called that ruling today disappointing, saying it ignores the intent of lawmakers and that he plans to work on a bill to repeal the territorial era law, telling us that the legislature has time to try to pass a new law.
First off, the action can't be enforced for 14 days as of today, as of the court's decision. However, there was an agreement between the parties involved in the lawsuit to add an additional 45 days to that. So you're looking at a period of time that allows government to act.
Senator Shope tells us that he believes this legislation will have support from members of both parties.